everyone, thanks for joining me. My name is Christine and this is Christine Says a Lot. Today I'm bringing you a tip for how to add an elastic casing to the back of a dress or a top, and that's great for bringing in. This is a technique I've used in new makes, and I have also used this in mending. When I've had a garment that I didn't quite like the fit on, I have added the casing to draw it in a little bit. So let's get into how to do this. I am making the Teagan Dress by Violette Field Threads. This is one of the dresses that I am sewing for hashtag Project Dress a Girl 2022, which is a charity event being run by Maddie of Maddie Sews, and I will link her channel below where she has all the information on how you could join in on this challenge. The first step is to make the casing, and what you're going to want to do is to, well, depending on the elastic size. For my example, I am using a 1/2 inch wide elastic. So I have cut a 2 inch wide strip, and I'm folding the strip in half, and then I'm going to fold the strip in half again by folding these edges into the center. So what you're in a sense doing is making a single fold by a strip, and I have one here that I have already ironed and folded. So let me bring the camera down so you can see what I'm doing. I have my back bodice piece wrong side facing up, and I have aligned it to my cutting mat along with the cutting lines, and I'm taking my dressmaker's ruler, which has increments in 1/8 of an inch, and I am going to mark off 3/4 of an inch. I'm going to draw a line across the bodice along the bottom here at 3/4 of an inch. Now for my pattern, I uses a 1/2 inch seam allowance. By placing the casing at 3/4 of an inch, that's going to give me 1/4 of an inch of play between the waist seam where I join the skirt and the bodice back. So I'm going to take this marking tool. This is a water-soluble pencil by Clover, made in Japan. I picked this up at a estate sale, and I have to say I really like this. So I'll draw the line across. I've already drawn my line. This white does show up against this dark fabric. And I'm going to take my casing. I'm going to align the bottom edge of my casing with that white line that I just drew. Now you'll notice over here on the edges, my casing comes slightly off. Don't worry about that. We will trim that later. And I'm just going to make sure I've got it nice and straight. I want this to look really nice. And then I'm going to pin my casing to the bodice. I'm using my glass head pins. I love these for dressmaking. They're nice and sharp. I don't use them with real heavy fabrics because they're thin and would bend, but I can iron right over these because there's a glass head. It's not going to melt. So I'm going to continue pinning this on, and I'm going to take this over to the sewing machine, and I'm going to edge stitch along the top, and I'm going to edge stitch along the bottom, and I'm going to be really careful to stay very close to the folded edge because I do not want to make this opening too small because I am threading this 1/2 inch wide elastic through. And as you can see, if I'm cavalier in my attitude of how I am going to be sewing those edges down, I could make it too tight to fit the elastic. So I'm going to continue pinning, and I will sew my edges, and I'll meet you back here. Okay, I have neatly sewn on my casing. I was able to get very, very close to the edge on both sides. And when I turn it over, and this is what you'll see from the outside of the dress, the thread just really blends in well. And now it's time to trim and add the elastic. Now, we did have a little bit of overhang, which you can see here on both edges. And that's fine because we're going to trim it. And I'm just going to use my rotary cutter since it's here. I'm just going to trim the casing even with the edge of the bodice. And just get rid of that extra. I think it's time to change this blade. Let me just trim this thread here. Okay. So the next step is to insert the elastic. This is a 1/2 inch non-roll elastic, and I cut mine to a size of 11.5 inches, and that's going to bring this in nicely. Now, if you watch my channel, make sure I'm getting this in the frame. I'm definitely team bodkin. You can attach a safety pin, but I like to use a bodkin, especially on a straightaway like this. So I've got it secured, got it nice and secure, and I'm just going to feed this through the casing. And I'm just going to be careful not to twist it as I feed. This should go in easily. Let's get it started. If you find that your bodkin is a little large, you might want to switch over to a safety pin. I'm just going to feed it in. I'm going to catch this end. Something that I do at times is I will attach something to the end, some type of clip, so I don't accidentally pull it all the way through and have to start over again. Just pull that through. And here it comes out the other side. See how that stops it? So I'm going to pull this out, and I'm going to secure the ends, and I'll show you what it looks like. So I've pulled it all the way through. I'm just going to pop a pin in it so I don't lose it at this end. And on this end, I'm going to pin the elastic down. Pull my stitches a little bit. I'll have to go and restitch that when I was forcing my bodkin in. And just adjust the gathers a little bit. And can you see already how that is pulling the back bodice in a little bit? It's going to be really cute. I'm going to tack these ends down, and we're finished with inserting an elastic casing into the bodice back. There we go. We have our elastic casing in, and when you look at it from the right side, it looks really nice and neat. So there you go. We have our casing. It looks so nice and neat on the inside of the garment and on the outside. This is a great technique to add to your sewing arsenal. Stay tuned for more tips and techniques as I work my way through the Teagan Dress by Violette Field Threads. Thank you for joining me. If you want to learn more about this charity project, Sewing Dresses for Impoverished Girls, that's being run in the month of September, check out the hashtag Project Dresser Girl 2022 to see some of the makes. And I am linking Mari's channel below as she's the leader of this project. Until next time, I hope you have a really good week and that you have some great sewing. Bye.